Hey guys, welcome to the first ever video podcast that I'm doing. This is part of the Women of the Outdoors series, and this was our last episode that we had here on Spotify. So I'm bringing it here to you on YouTube. It is with Melissa Bachman, so I hope you enjoyed this interview, and we're going to jump right into it. Welcome back to another episode of Hunting with a Passion. As y'all know, we've been doing a couple episodes of Women on the Outdoors, and I have a really special guest that I'm glad she was able to come on. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
I'm Melissa Bachman from Winchester Deadly Passion, and I just appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here. The first question I wanted to talk to you about is, I know a lot of people, when they hear your name, they've seen you probably in, hunting magazines or on TV and stuff like that. I know I actually grew up watching you, so I don't know if that makes you feel old or not.
Well, that's cool either way.
I mean, I've been watching you since I was like 14, and I'm 23 now, so been watching you for a long time, but and following your journey and stuff. But give us a little background on where you're from, what you do. I know some people do and some people don't, but a little background on what you do.
Yeah, so I have a hunting show. It's called Winchester Deadly Passion. I'm right now in season 13, so that explains how you were able to watch me when you were younger as well. Yep. But I've been producing this for 13 seasons, but before that, I was actually a cameraman and an editor. I actually started as a free intern. I drove 150 miles a day back and forth to go work for free to be a cameraman. So there was no like easy route to get in. It took a long time. I did that for 4 years. I ended up getting a full-time position, but I was a cameraman and editor for 4 years before I was even able to start my own show. And then I kind of built it up. And the reason I was able to do it is because I knew how to do all the different aspects. I could do the production, I could do the hunting, I could do the camera work, the editing, all those things. And still to this day, I do a ton of that myself. And I think that's kind of been a huge part of my success because I don't have to pay other people. I didn't have anyone bankrolling me, didn't have a bunch of money to spend on it. I literally put every penny I had into it every single year.
Yep. That sounds like a lot of hard work and dedication too.
Yeah, and you have to stay persistent. That's probably the most important.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm trying to learn, not to get burnt out, because like I'm going all the time. I mean, I still work full time. I have a baby on the way, but whenever I can, I'm trying to get in the woods and learn stuff. Thankfully, I have friends close that can mentor me in a lot of things, but that's, like you said, it's a lot of hard work. Little background, you said that you did your own camera work, you did your own hunting and stuff like that. Where did you first, who's the first person to get you into hunting? What would you say, like when you first started?
So my mom and dad started with me. I started at 5 shooting a bow and arrow. And then in Minnesota, where I grew up, you couldn't hunt till you were 12. So I just waited and waited till my 12th birthday. And when I finally turned 12, I was able to hunt. Both my mom and dad took me. Sometimes my dad would be working, so my mom would take me. Sometimes we went together as a family. And I just loved it. That's all I wanted to do. They actually signed a thing so I could have a work permit my senior year and I could hunt before school started. So every day I got to skip the first 2 hours of school and go hunting. So that kind of shows you, that true passion that was there. I never planned on like having a TV show or anything like that. I just wanted to find a way to hunt every single day. And I think I did 5 years straight with 320 days on the road. So I think that's probably close enough to every single day that you need to be. But I just really, truly love it and have learned to adapt to be able to make a career out of it.
Sweet. So you talked about your show a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your show for like some people, the listeners that they've heard of you, but they didn't know you had a show or whatever. Like, what do you specifically hunt? Whitetail? Do you hunt different animals or something like that? Or
So my show airs on Sportsman's Channel. It's on about 5-6 days a week. It's on year round, 52 weeks a year. And if you don't get Sportsman's Channel, you can always go on My Outdoor TV. It's an app that has all the hunting shows on, or you can go on YouTube and see a season behind and just type in Melissa Bachman or Winchester Deadly Passion. And I have a playlist with all the full episodes. So you can literally just sit down and watch them one after another. So I hunt all sorts of things. Whitetails are my bread and butter. It's my favorite thing. It's what I grew up doing. But I do mule deer, elk, moose, alligator, some exotic hunts over in, in Spain for ibex or Africa, but a lot of my hunts are North American animals going after my favorites.
Okay.
Even turkeys, pheasants, you name it. I enjoy hunting it.
Okay. Now, what was that one you said in Spain? I don't think I've ever heard of that one
An
before.
ibex?
Yeah,
Yep.
ibex.
So I did that. I actually lived in Spain while I was in college, but I didn't have the money to do any hunting while I was there. So I went back later and went after an ibex, and they're just a beautiful, beautiful animal. And it was an incredibly difficult hunt. It had just snowed like 16 or 18 inches, but it was just stunning. And you're way up high in the mountains. It's a very cool hunt.
Okay. What type of animal is it? Like, what would you compare that animal to?
So they're kind of like they live way up in the mountains, so
Okay.
they're the body size I guess would be maybe about the size of a whitetail, I would
Okay.
say, and then their horns just kind of swoop back. If I had my doors open, I could show you the mount in our main living room, but it's just a beautiful different animal, and they're tough and they live in some rough terrain.
Okay.
You'll have to check it out if you go on
I
YouTube and
should.
type in Melissa Bachman Spain ibex. You can watch the show.
Okay. Well, now would you compare it to like a goat, maybe? Like a.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what family they're from, but it would be similar to, something between a goat and a sheep, something
Okay.
that's way up in the high country.
Cool.
And definitely can get around a lot better. They're equipped for that type of living.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily, but they do a very good job in the mountains.
Okay. Now we kind of touched a little bit on it, but we talked about your animals you've hunted and stuff like that.
Whitetails are probably my favorite
Yeah.
just because I dreamed of whitetails growing up. Since I was a little girl, that was my dream, is to shoot one big, big buck. And, of course, I've been able to do that numerous times, but that's still probably what gets me the most excited. But really, when it comes down to hunts, a lot of times it's the people I'm with or the
Yeah.
experiences. It's less about the animal and more about the people we're with.
Mhm.
For example, last season, we brought our little boy Jax, he's 3.5, and he was able to shoot his first turkey in Nebraska with a 410 all on his own. And
Yeah.
that was the best hunt I've ever been a part of. And it just happened to be a turkey hunt, right? So it just really depends on the experience and what all goes down and the wonderful people that you get to hunt with as well.
Yeah. So I have a quick question because you mentioned Nebraska. I'm actually planning on going. I think I told you earlier. I'm planning on going mule deer hunting out in Nebraska, out near like Scottsbluff or Nebraska National Forest. What are some ideas and tips you think you could give me on that?
A big part is to try to do as much kind of e-scouting as you can ahead of time. So you have some places that you want to go to. Even if you can get to know some people, that can always be a big help. But when you get out there, it's really about learning to adapt. I mean, if you go out when rifle opens, a lot of those mule deer are rutting. You just have to be able to adapt on the fly. You might have the best game plan ever, but things can change as you go. So just know that, you have to be willing to change and do things different and see what works. It's a trial and error thing
Yeah.
with all hunting. When you do something new, you're going to learn from it and you're going to make mistakes, learn from them, and don't do them twice.
Okay. Now, would you say, because I'm here from Pennsylvania, and most of the hunting we do is, like the old timers, they just sit in their stand with their coffee and wait for something to come by, and I mean, this year I hunted almost every Saturday in October, and then I hunted a whole week in October. And there were some days I didn't see anything, and some days I'm like, they're on trail camera. Where are they at? But would you say like Nebraska is more like a spot and stalk type of thing? Because where I was looking at there in Scottsbluff, it's a lot more plains. It looked like a lot more like I kind of refer to more as like the Midwest almost, like Indiana or Illinois or whatever. Because that's at least
With a
that's what it
lot
looks like.
less trees.
A lot less trees. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's looking at that terrain. A lot of your hunting out there is going to be spot and stock, and then make your moves from there. The best is to be able to get to high points glass and watch what those deer are doing, and then maybe the next day make your move accordingly.
Okay. So what would the best advice for someone like a girl, whether she's single or married, young or older, trying to get into the hunting world? I know most girls think, oh, it's a guy's sport or whatever, I can't compete with the boys. What's the best advice would you give a girl to get started?
Well, honestly, I believe you almost have an edge being a girl, to be totally honest. Like, I don't feel hardly ever have I been, pushed down because I'm a woman, not by any stretch. The good thing about the hunting community is most people really want to see more and more people getting involved. So it's a really good community. But the most important part is to be authentic, to be true to who you are. People can see through it a mile away when you're not being real. And if you want longevity in this industry, I think it's really important to be who you are and work hard. I mean, there might be other people that are better hunters than me, but nobody's going to outwork me.
Yeah. So you're saying like basically always be willing to learn.
Always be willing to learn.
Yeah.
You never, ever, ever know it all.
They say there's no such thing as a dumb question, which I don't really think there is in the hunting industry, but because there's some things that like this was my wife's first year hunting with a bow, and there's some things I was kicking myself for not lecturing her on before she went out and stuff like that. But she learned from them and was able to recover and get a deer this year, so I was happy
That's
about that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if there was anything that you could change, like the way that you learned how to hunt or the way you got where you are in your career, what would you change?
I don't know if there's really anything I would change. I just think that you learn to be more efficient as you grow older, right? In the beginning, I just worked nonstop and I just gave it all I had, and you're almost spinning your wheels, not getting very far. I mean, you learn to be more efficient with your time. The burnout factor is huge. You need to make sure that you are not running yourself, that you're going to end up just completely fried and just want to be done. There's always a fine line, and balance is so important. In the beginning, it was very difficult. I didn't have a family, so I just literally gave everything I had into my career. And where now I've learned, to balance things out a little bit with my job, my family, having some downtime. And I think it's actually made me a better hunter and more productive and a better business person as well.
Okay. What would you say your favorite? I'm sure you've heard this question a gazillion times, as many tours that you've been on this year. But what would you say your favorite hunt would be? Your hunt.
I've had a lot of favorite hunts, but my husband and I recently did a brown bear hunt together last year, and it was one of the most difficult, both mentally and physically, hunts I've ever done in my life. It was so, so hard. I mean, it was freezing cold. The snow was up to our tents. I mean, it was rough conditions, but to be able to do that with my husband, and then he was able to shoot his brown bear at 4.5 yards with his bow and arrow, and I was able to capture all the footage. Then I was able to get an even bigger one. It was just an incredible hunt. And again, it's, the animal's cool. The places you go are neat, but to be able to do that with your significant other and be out in the field and have those memories together, I think that's pretty well tops it all off.
I would have to agree with you. There's like, it's one thing when it's your first deer, or any animal, but then when you see someone else get their first animal, it's a game changer and totally different. Like I was talking with my wife with her first deer this year, I think I was shaking more than she was, and it was just a little doe. And I'm like, I was just so happy that she was able to get her first deer, because like she grew up in Indiana and they would go for firearm season. Like she'd go like 1 or 2 days out of the whole year. But I told her, I was like, well, archery is way more fun. It's a little bit warmer. You'll love it. And she turns out she first couple took a couple of weeks to get to see deer and stuff like that. But when she got that deer down, she was like, all right, let's do this again. And so I was super happy. And now with I have a son, should be born in 3 weeks, so I'm hoping to maybe get him out. Well, sort of, if she lets me, let him maybe have a couple sits in the blind or whatever next year.
That'd
But
be cool.
yeah, hopefully I'll have to get some snacks or something to keep him quiet. But I mean, I'm sure you have some advice on that as well, like taking kids hunting. I talked to one of the jury team members a couple weeks ago on this. But what would be some advice that you would give new parents with taking kids hunting and stuff like that?
I really believe that there's no age that's too young. Jax, I have pictures with him turkey hunting with us when he was 8 months old, a year and a half, 2.5, and at 3.5, he was the hunter, right? So I think you should always try to get your kids out there as early as possible, but you have to know that it may not work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things are going to happen. When Jax was a year and a half, we had turkeys coming in. I was so confident that he'd do great. We didn't even use a blind. and he started howling like a coyote at the turkeys, and it would shock gobble back. And it's hilarious to look at right now.
That's
And it's some
funny.
of the funniest footage you've ever seen. I'm trying to put suckers back in his mouth to keep him quiet, and he just keeps howling, and the turkey shock gobble back. But I think what's important as a parent is to know you're going out there for the bonding experience. You're
Mm-hmm.
going out there to get your kids hooked on hunting. Do not be discouraged if it doesn't go the way you want, or you don't get an animal, or something busts. Who cares? It's about the memories, and that's more important. Bring tons of snacks. Just be well rested so that you can take care of, whatever comes up, and do it in short periods of time,
Yeah.
and pick that time wisely. Don't pick nasty days, pick the nicest, most fun days, and do it at short periods of time.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people were telling me, don't go if you're expecting to kill someone. Just kill something. Go for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Which
absolutely. And
I'm
you
looking
might
for.
get something that's a bonus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking. Me and my wife were talking because with me going to Nebraska, I was like, I need to get in shape for that. And I'm like, we're going to take him on hikes because we live in like Western Pennsylvania where it's all mountainous and stuff. So I was like, we're going to be taking him on hikes and getting him used to being out there and stuff. So
Yep,
anyway.
best thing you can do.
Yep. Get him out there early. Well, thank you for your time, and I know you're probably extremely busy with a lot going on with um, speaking engagements and stuff like that. So I'm going to let you go. But thank you so much for coming on and giving some of your time. And
well, I sure appreciate you having me, and best of luck to the new little boy coming, and best of luck to your whole season. Sounds like it should be incredible.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and joining our first ever video podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot. We're looking forward to doing another one here pretty soon with my friend Evan, who's a Alaska bush pilot, and he has hunted a lot of wild game out there in Alaska. So we're going to talk turkeys with him in the next podcast that we do. So stay tuned for that, and just keep watching.